Week 3 of the NFL season is coming up on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. We're looking at the Sunday slate with our best picks, our best bets for the week ahead. Tom Collins, just realised there's a stain on my shirt, which is not a great start, but we'll go with it.
That isn't a great start. No, hopefully many people didn't see that, but now everyone is looking at it, so you've kind of drawn attention. But yeah, week 3 of the NFL season. I like this week's slate. Hopefully we can provide plenty of winners. I think last Sunday was kind of a mixture of frustration and also some bad luck, which meant that we didn't end up in success. But we both had 2 winners from the 5 picks. Hopefully this week, we both have 5 picks again, by the way. Hopefully we'll have at least 3 winners each, and maybe we'll be bordering on 4 or 5.
Yeah, my eyes are up here, guys. Eyes are up here. The Denver beat last week was disappointing. The way that it transpired was highly annoying, which was that the joint play, for the entirety of the game, they were in control.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail in the What on Earth section coming up. But yeah, I'm still kind of mourning that result. It was brutal, and it's just not the way you want to lose, especially a bet. But as I'm not a Broncos fan, of course. I'm a Packers fan, but I have anti-post selections on the Broncos this year, so I kind of want them to win every single possible game. And yeah, it was just not pleasant. But there were a few shocking results, frustrating results last week. However, we did both get our player of the day in. So does that mean it's victory sip time?
It is, yeah. But this is hot coffee.
Oh, well, unfortunately, you're drinking now, I'm afraid. We're doing it now. We're doing it now. Victory sip. We're going 2-0 on the plays of the day. Good.
It wasn't that bad. It's not drinking temperature.
I'm kind of sad it wasn't that bad. I was hoping it'd be brutal.
Like tiny little tingles on my tongue. That's what we're going at the moment.
Someone clip that up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a victory sip done. Well done if you did join us. Would you rather, Tom, for the season, with your selections outright, go like 500, so go half winners, half losers? Or would you rather go through the entirety of the season and get every single player of the day in?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'd rather generally have a winning record across all picks, because that would equal profit. Though there is a little bit of me right now that is seeing that 2-0 above us with plays of the day and hoping that it goes up to 17-0 by the end of the regular season. But yeah, I feel like last year you did extremely well with your player of the day, didn't you? And I fared worse with that section, but fared slightly better in terms of the overall picks.
Yeah, I was like 9-1 at one point in player of the day.
Yeah.
Which it's a great feeling, don't get me wrong. But let's move on to the first segment of the week, the What on Earth segment, because, Tom, what a week it was in football. I'll let you go.
Right. I was red hot, and actually on Sunday night, I wrote this whole blurb out about what I was going to say on What on Earth. And then I've kind of, over the last couple of days, just decelerated a touch. But What on Earth, NFL officials. Right, last week was a disaster to watch. Not only in the early slate of games where there are countless mistakes from the officials that actually changed the course of the action, but in the late slate, it got even worse. Now, let's look at the Cardinals game. We had numerous calls from the officials in that second half that made the game more interesting, and it was blatantly obvious that they were doing it to make the game more interesting. There were calls in there that should never, ever have been given, yet somehow they were against the Cardinals. Even the commentators said everything's going against Arizona right now. Yeah, because the officials are making it happen. I didn't like that at all. It felt quite, I don't want to use the word rigged, but it felt very pushed towards Arizona not winning this game by a huge margin. And look, I had no bets in that matchup. I was a complete neutral, no fantasy implications. It was just tough to watch. Then let's move on to the game involving the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals. That game was virtually decided by a PI call against Travis Hunter that was not PI at all. There was no PI in it whatsoever. PI equals pass interference for those of you who may not know that term. But it was a ludicrous call. Then we go to the Eagles and the Chiefs game. What are they doing on these tush pushes? Like, it's starting to become frustrating. Now, I wanted the Eagles to win. Obviously, I'm pretty negative on Kansas City and have been for the last year. Shout out Gary Slater in the comments. And I want the Eagles to win, not only because I actually had fantasy implications and a bet in that game, but equally, I'm on the KC downfall, and I quite like to see them lose right now. But every single tush push, Luke, the 5 offensive linemen are offsides. The guards are full starting every single time. You watch it in slow-mo. The guards are moving way before the ball is snapped. The officials just don't call it. There is no wonder they're gaining at least a yard on every play. It's so frustrating to watch. And then finally, the last section of this What on Earth rant. The calls in the Broncos Colts game do not get me started, especially that leverage call. There were actually some stats on social media of people putting out information about how many times leverage has been called in a game and how many times it actually happens, and the officials just overlook it. 1.6% of leverage calls in games have been called on field goals. 1.6%. Then there was a little stat or a piece of work that was done that suggests in over 50% of field goals there is leverage and the officials don't call it. Of course, they call it against the Broncos when they've actually won the game. There are zeros on the clock, and they pull it back so they get another field goal attempt. The Colts, of course, they kick it through this time. Well done to Spencer Schrader. But my God, there was no leverage there. I've watched the replay. The guys just run into the D line, which is absolutely what you're supposed to do. But they're not pushing down on the center. Oh, it's just crazy calls. What on earth, Luke?
I'm going to add a what on earth onto it as well, because the Denver one, the guy's kicking from 60 yards. He's never in his professional career made a kick from 60 yards. Why are you trying so hard to block that kick? You don't need just bank on him not making it. Like, honestly, the chances, it's not Brandon Aubrey, it's not Cam Little. Like, this is a guy who probably isn't going to make this kick. And honestly, it was never even close. So you give away a 15-yard penalty, and then he makes it very easily from 45.
So
It's just
frustrating.
so dumb. Bank on him missing it. Just bet against the other guy. But yeah, I get it. I'm going to also voice frustrations because what on earth? The Houston Texans coaching staff, what are you doing? Why did you even draft Jaden Higgins? Why did you draft Jalen Knoll? What's the point? Christian Kirk has been out the first 2 weeks. Fine. You've got Nico Collins, who you remembered was on your team last week, albeit bizarrely he caught a fantastic touchdown early on, and then he didn't have a play designed for him for the rest of the first half. This is Nico Collins, by the way, your main guy. And then alongside him, you play Xavier Hutchinson. Oh, that's fine. You got Justin Watson on the other side. These guys are rock solid wide receiver 4s, maybe even a wide receiver 3, but they're not the second and third guys on your team. Jaden Higgins comes into the game. He plays, I think, 46% of the snaps, which is ridiculous to start with. He gets one catch for 27 yards, or I think it was 28 maybe. Why are you not giving your rookies a chance? Jaden Higgins is clearly a better receiver than those two guys, with no disrespect meant at all to Justin Watson or Xavier Hutchinson. What on earth, Houston Texans coaching staff, Tom? I hate it.
Yeah, I don't understand why Higgins, and actually quite a few of these rookies aren't being given much playtime early. I fully understand that the NFL, it takes some acclimatization for these rookies coming out of college, but someone like Higgins should definitely be on the field. Now, Noel, I can kind of understand. They're using him a lot in the kick return and punt returning aspects, a lot of special teams work. Kind of fine with that, but Higgins, yeah, he's got to be the wide receiver too, and I just don't really understand why he's not getting much game time.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in a little moment's time. I was going to mention Travion Henderson then, Tom. But did you see Travion Henderson's blocking?
I did. Oh, don't. It was same as Ashton Genty's blocking, mate, last week. They kind of just wander around the backfield.
Honestly. Literally, Travion Henderson should be taking over that backfield. Ramondre Stevenson, he looked good last week, and he's got another smash play against the Steelers this week. But Travion Henderson, honestly, it was like he was trying to block my dog who didn't want to go home from the park. It was absolutely horrific. But that is a look back at week 2. We move on to week 3. And BT Dubs, if we haven't mentioned it, subscribe down below. Leave a comment with your favourite picks this week. Leave a comment with who your favourite picks of our picks are as well, whether you're Team Tom or Team Luke, and what you're looking forward to in week 3. And we'll mention our memberships as well, because we mentioned Jaden Higgins. He was a winner on the Pick 6 Club. We had 4 winners on Monday Night Football across the 2 games, with Tampa Bay plus 3.5, Jaden Higgins over 24.5, K-Dot another 2.5, and Quentin Johnston over 43.5. And also, Tom, just to throw into the mix, not tips, but we did predict the winner of both games.
Yeah, we did. And these statistics and these victories we had on Monday Night Football, because they're only to memberships, they're not above in that record you can see above us. But we are both in profit now on the season and have winning records because of that. And yeah, hopefully Monday Night Football moving forward, we can continue to land a fair few nice bets for the Pick Six Club, the members.
Absolutely. That link will be down below. Leave a comment, like I say, subscribe. Do your thing. Hopefully, we'll find a few winners this week, starting off with Tom Collins, who is going to provide us with our very first winner of week 3.
Yeah, hopefully. We're going to go the way of Chuba Hubbard for the Carolina Panthers. They play the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday, and I like Chuba Hubbard over 55.5 rushing yards. Now, this line was set at 57.5, but it's gone down, surprisingly, 2 yards in the last 12 hours or so. So I'm very happy to take this. We need 56 or more rushing yards to capitalize on this selection. Now, numerous reasons for this. Firstly, the Panthers' offense just hasn't looked great so far. Bryce Young's getting pressured on almost every snap. Ted McMillan's doing well at wide receiver, but equally, he is a rookie. He's still not the finished article, and they're not throwing the ball to him on every play. They just don't really have much else out wide. Sanders has been decent, the tight end who's been running slot, but equally, Bryce Young is kind of feeling the pressure and not being able to get the ball to his receivers. Therefore, Chuba Hubbard has been the main guy, and he has been the main guy for them for the whole last couple of seasons. Hubbard this year, because they've been down early in games, hasn't really been able to exploit the ground game, hasn't been running the ball very often, hasn't had that many carries, but he's done okay for the volume he's got. However, he has been very good through the air with 2 receiving touchdowns, 1 in each game so far. But I feel like this game against the Falcons, now that the Panthers are at home, Hubbard and the running game, they're going to try and get it started from the outset in here. And I like Hubbard over 56 yards. Now, in the last 3 games Hubbard has had against Atlanta, he's rushed for 60, 87, and 92. That 60-yard game, he only had 9 carries. So it's not like he was getting a huge workload anyway. He just seems to burn up this Falcons defense somewhat. I feel like they're going to give him at least 17 or 18 carries in this matchup. And if they do, he should easily cover this line. The one problem is if they go down big early. But I watched the Falcons against the Vikings last week, Luke, and they didn't look great on offense. So I don't feel like this is a blowout kind of matchup, especially as it's in Carolina. And therefore, Hubbard should get his fair share. So Chuba Hubbard over 55.5 rushing yards at 10 to 11 as my first play on Sunday.
I feel like you're turning into a Chuba Hubbard guy this year.
It's just the offense is focused literally around Hubbard. So, yeah, I feel like this is my second time I've put up Hubbard so far, and we're in week 3. So maybe I am a Hubbard guy.
How'd that first one go?
Next.
By the way, when you were talking about that, I feel like every week when you're talking about something bad happens to Luke. Like every single week.
What happened?
It's like there was a spider on me the other day. Something bad happened last week as well. It looks, if someone was watching me in that, it looks like I hate your Chuba Hubbard pick because I have a drink and I just go like I'm repulsed by something. There was something gross in my drink.
I feel like this is just karma for I don't know what, but it's definitely just karma.
It's just like why bad stuff happening to Luke is ridiculous. Let's move on to kind of bad stuff happening because one thing we try not to do, Tom, we try and look on the bright side of life, don't we?
Mate, I'm looking forward to this. I know where you're going.
We like to go. We like good things to happen, but no, not this time. We're going to go bad things happening because Breece Hall had a fantastic week 1. He looked fantastic. If you took Breece Hall late in the draft in your fantasy league, you were delighted. You were thinking, brilliant. I've got a first round pick effectively in round 4, end of round 3, and then last week it all came crashing down. And that's going to continue to come crashing down as well because Breece Hall is my first selection under 52.5 rushing yards. Under 52.5 rushing yards. Now, I know what you're saying. Luke, unders are horrible to watch. They're gross. We don't enjoy it whatsoever. I agree. They are horrible to watch. You're watching the whole game in a little bit of fear. Not last week, though, if you sided with Breece Hall. He looked fantastic in week 1. That did come against the Steelers' defense. It just looked terrible. I mean, Ken Walker, he looked awful in week 1. Week 2, he came out and he put up 105 rushing yards on the Steelers' defense. I know they held Zach Charbonnet in check, but Ken Walker, it absolutely worked. Breece Hall against Buffalo last week, 10 carries for 29 yards, 2.9 yards per carry. See, Tom's not the only person who can do quick maths. I think it's going to be a very similar story for Breece Hall again this week. He gets Tampa. Now, Tampa, I don't think enough is being made of their defense. Their defense is so good. It's one of the better ones in the NFL, especially against the run. On week 1, they played Atlanta. Tight game. It was a good game to watch. On the ground, you might not have noticed because Bijan Robinson had a very good day in the receiving game. On the ground, Bijan Robinson was terrible. Him and Tyler Algier, they combined for 22 carries and they were allowed 48 rushing yards. Breece Hall, I don't think, will be anywhere near improving on that. And I don't think he'll be anywhere near getting 20 plus carries because I don't think that the Jets will win this game. They're 0-2 for a reason. And let's look at last week as well, regards to the Tampa defense. They were against Nick Chubb. Your memory is, well, Nick Chubb scored that big touchdown right at the end of the game. The rest of the game must have been brilliant for him, right? No, wrong. 12 for 43 and 1. And that touchdown run was a 25-yard touchdown run. And we kind of think that they were just allowed to score anyway because Tampa then got the ball back. They marched up the other end of the field and managed to win the game. I think this Tampa defense, Tom, is legit. It's not necessarily an anti-Breece Hall thing, but it is very much a pro-Tampa Bay rush defense.
Yeah, I like the Bucs. Last week, I was with the Bucs in that matchup, which they won, albeit on the alternative point spread. But yeah, I think the Bucs win this game big, and I like it. However, we know how unders go. We need some aircon in your room when you watch this game because you are going to be sweating for 3 hours and hoping that Breece Hall doesn't break one.
I think we've done okay on unders in the
I think we have too, but they are rare occurrences, aren't they?
They are rare. I would say with something like 3-4, about 3-1. Sorry, 3-1.
Yeah, something like that.
Ish.
Hopefully, we can go 4-1.
Yeah, absolutely. Breece Hall, get down. Right, let's take a look at the third selection of the day because, Tom, go on, here's your glass. I'll fill it back up. There you go. Have a drink.
Yeah, we're going to go back to the overs. My last 2 selections, by the way, in this 6 p.m. slate. We do have some for later in the Sunday afternoon. But my last 2 here are going to be on tight ends. And I'm going to go to a guy who's had a great start to his NFL career in Tyler Warren. He plays for the Indianapolis Colts, and they play against the Tennessee Titans on Sunday. This is a very one-sided matchup, or it should be, in terms of the Colts should win this by quite a margin, I would suspect. The Titans have looked okay, especially on defense, but they are struggling so far on offense. And the Colts looked really good last week against the Broncos. For all that the Broncos should have won that game, the fact that they actually challenged the Broncos all the way until the end of the matchup suggested to me that they are capable of potentially going on a playoff run with Daniel Jones at the helm, something I didn't really think I would be saying at this point of the season. Now, Tyler Warren is the guy that Jones leans upon, but he is a very pass-happy QB, and he does like the ball in his hands. So he also targets the likes of Pittman, Downs, etc. But Tyler Warren, so far, 2 NFL games, he has 155 receiving yards and 11 catches. He has been the guy that Daniel Jones has just looked at every single time. The line this week, 44.5. That's very low, I thought, against the Titans defense that has been really good against the run and actually not bad against receivers either. Tyler Warren is going to be used a lot in this matchup. I can see him having 5, 6, 7 catches. And if you look back at the 2 Titans games so far, they've allowed 5 catches to tight ends in week 1, 5 catches to tight ends in week 2. Tyler Warren is the best tight end they've faced, no question. And I think he's going to get at least 6 or 7 catches in here. If he does, he's definitely getting 45 receiving yards. So I'm very confident on this one. You're getting 10 to 11. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, this is my play of the day.
Oh, he went early. He told me off last week for going early, but he went early on that.
I quite liked it last week. It worked for you, didn't it?
Exactly. How badly do you want to go unbeaten in play of the days longer than me?
Oh, very, very badly. I am a competitive guy, for those of you who don't know me. And last year you dominated the play of the day thing. It was kind of like I couldn't put up a play of the day winner, but all the others constantly went in or were very close. So, yeah, I've got some revenge to have this year.
Are you at the stage yet where you're not I wouldn't say cheering against mine, but going, oh, that's a shame?
No. Look, I'm a very big supporter of your picks on this podcast. All successes are good successes, but if we are tied when it comes to week 14 or 15, then maybe I'll be cheering on if they don't win.
Yeah, we'll see how far we go. Does this shirt, by the way, make me look like I work in Starbucks?
Kinda. To be honest, I wasn't looking at you, but I have just looked at you now, and yeah, I suppose the badge is Starbucks-esque. Shout out Starbucks who want to sponsor us, by the way.
Yeah, shout out Starbucks. If you don't sponsor us, your coffee sucks. But the things I can get away with on this podcast, because I know Tom isn't looking at me, I can just pull faces at whatever he's saying and just go off on him. But let's move on to my next selection, because I am going to be looking at Tom's brother. Nico Collins, I think, is going to have a big week. I mentioned at the start of the podcast that I'm not a massive fan of what the Houston Texans coaching staff are doing, but you're against Jacksonville this week. You can't really do many things wrong against Jacksonville because their defense is not fantastic. Nico Collins, he comes from the Texans team where the O-line hasn't looked fantastic. It looks slightly better last week, but they have taken on two good defenses. They took on the LA Rams in week 1 and then Tampa last week. Jacksonville are not a good defense. So maybe this is one where the expectations for Nico Collins have been lowered a touch, and you can maybe take advantage of that. 68.5 is the line. I'm going to take the overs on that at 10 to 11. They're against Jacksonville, Tom. Do you know who Nico Collins loves playing?
I do, actually. It is the Jaguars, and I actually have some stats in front of me, but I'm sure you're going to read them out.
Yeah, last 3 games against the Jacksonville Jaguars. 8 catches, 119 yards. 12 catches, 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. 7 catches, 104 yards and 1 touchdown. He has cleared 100 yards with some ease in the last 3 games against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He caught an incredible touchdown in week 2, very early on in the game. As I said at the top of the podcast, he wasn't written out of the game plan, but they just didn't target him properly for the rest of that first half. He did receive 9 targets, though. Not all of them he was first read on. And he only caught 3 of them, but that wasn't his fault. There were plenty of bad throws and plenty of rush throws as well from CJ Stroud. His main concerns with regards to targets, as I say at the top of the show, Xavier Hutchinson, Justin Watson, Christian Kirk, the rookies aren't getting a look in at the moment. It might be a bit more of a concern when Jaden Higgins does get more of a role, but Nico Collins, I think, is going to have a big week this time around. I think 68.5 is a very low line. I would fully expect, Tom, to see Nico Collins continue his dominance of the Jags.
Yeah, I feel like Collins and AJ Brown this week are similar propositions. You've got 2 elite wide receivers who have got great stats against the teams they're playing. And yeah, the lines are relatively low based on what we've seen from them so far this season. I think AJ Brown's line is 61.5, and you would anticipate he would go over as well. So I quite like that with Nico, and hopefully he will go over. I'm sure plenty of people watching this have Nico in their fantasy teams, whether they be dynasty or redraft leagues. But yeah, I just don't trust the Houston's offense right now. They actually fared pretty well against Tampa, didn't they? But the offensive line usually succumbs to pressure. So I'm just a little bit cold until I can see what the Texans can do.
That said, if you can go and get Nico Collins in fantasy cheap, wouldn't be against that whatsoever, obviously, depending who you give up. But I think he could be a target. Speaking of targets, Tom, your next selection got plenty of those on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, Tucker Kraft for the Green Bay Packers. Back to selecting a player prop in a matchup involving my team, which doesn't usually go the right way, but hopefully it will this week. This is the final selection in the 6 p.m. slate, by the way, before we go on to the later games. Tucker Kraft over 47.5 receiving yards against the Rams for the Browns, for the Packers. Now, when I say the Packers face the Browns, you're probably thinking this is going to be a one-sided game. The Browns suck, and the Packers have been exceptionally good and probably maybe have the best defense in football right now, with the Denver Broncos being the other team. The problem is the Browns defense has been pretty darn good so far this year. They've actually conceded or allowed the fewest yards per game at 191.5. The next fewest is 220. So there's a big margin between the Browns and any other team. And if you look back at that matchup last week where the Browns played against the Ravens, you'll see the score in that game was 41-17 towards Baltimore. And if you went through the team stats, you're probably expecting to see 400, 500 total yards for Baltimore, 100 and something for the Browns, and a completely one-sided matchup. Not the case. The Browns actually outgained the Ravens 300 and something yards against 200 and something yards. Baltimore only had 200 yards on offense, but they scored 41 points. So I feel like maybe people were looking a little bit too much on the paper side of things when it comes to the Browns, thinking they're terrible. But actually, this defensive unit is pretty strong. The run game, defending the run, is the best part of Cleveland. And I think Josh Jacobs may struggle a touch to move the ball efficiently on the ground against this defense. So I think the ball might be put in the hands of Jordan Love quite often, especially to get first downs on third downs. And the guy they're going to be looking at is Tucker Kraft, because he's that solid guy. The guy last week that allowed the Packers to beat the Commanders by consistently getting the ball. And I just feel like Kraft is due another big game. He had 124 yards against Washington last week. He's not going to get that again. I don't think he'll be in three figures, but he should definitely cover this 47.5 yard line, especially now that Jaden Reed's out. There aren't that many weapons out wide. Obviously, you have Matthew Golden, you have Romeo Dobbs, a couple of other receivers, Wicks, etc. But I feel like Tucker, I should call him Trucker now because that is what he does when he gets the ball in his hands. I feel like Tucker Kraft is the guy that Love trusts the most. And I'll be pretty disappointed if he doesn't get 48 or more receiving yards on Sunday.
I would say calling him Trucker is the only way you can make him sound more Texas if you tried.
For sure.
It's like, my name's Tucker Kraft. It's like, my name's Trucker Kraft. Right, let's move on to someone who's got a far more, I don't know, I was going to say higher class name, but I feel like that's harsh on Tucker Kraft.
Kraft's got a great name, mate.
It's a great name.
You just want a more geographical name.
Yeah, it's not Rome Odunze, is it? That's a bit more eloquent, I feel. But Rome Odunze, breakout week last week, breakout season coming up. First time in the entirety of his career, albeit it's only a season and a little bit, that he's played every single snap on offense. He played 100% of snaps last week. That said, they were behind for a lot of the game. It kind of happens hand in hand. But Rome Odunze, I think, is the wide receiver one for the Chicago Bears. We came into this season thinking probably it's going to be DJ Moore again. But Odunze has stepped up, and he's stepped up in a big way, in a very quick way as well. 2 games so far this season. He took on Minnesota in week 1, and honestly, he was fine. If you had him in fantasy, you were happy he got a touchdown, and he performed okay from a points perspective. But then last week against Detroit, I know they were playing from behind. 11 targets, 7 catches for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's clearly Caleb Williams' go-to guy. Now, why is he going to do it again this week? He's going to do it again because he's taken on the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys defense is not very good. Micah Parsons obviously isn't there. They are allowing points left, right, and center. And that was case in point when they took on the New York Giants last week. Just going to check. Tom, New York Giants offense, are they any good?
No.
No, they're not. But Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards against the Cowboys. 3 touchdowns. But that's not the interesting part. The Cowboys are getting absolutely torched downfield. Malik Neighbors, 9 catches for 167 yards. His longest play was 48 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson, slot receiver, small guy. Lots of catches, but for small yards. 8 catches, 142 yards, and his longest was 50 yards. Let's not stop there. Darius Slayton also had a productive day. 2 catches for 61 yards, and one of those catches went for 52 yards. They are being torched downfield, and that's what Rome Odunze is good at. Rome Odunze stretches the field, not like DJ Moore. He is more the slot guy, like a Wan'Dale Robinson. I think Rome Odunze is going to be targeted quite a bit in this game, and I think he's going to get big targets as well, which leads me to his line, which I think is very much on the low side. I don't think that the Vegas books or whatever you want to use have bought into Rome Odunze yet. 60.5 receiving yards, or as I've written it down on my notes, 60.6, which is kind of the same. I think Rome Odunze goes over this. It is, say, currently at 5 to 6. I think that's a great price for Odunze. Like I say, he's being more involved in this Bears offense, which honestly, the Bears offense doesn't look too bad. They're putting up points, but they need to actually stop their opposition. And that is another big factor as well. Dallas will potentially be in control of this game. They might win this contest, but I think they'll put up points early on. We saw the offense last week. They had no issue whatsoever. They put up 40 on the Giants. And let's not forget, the Giants aren't a bad defense. I know their offense isn't something I like, but the defense is okay. I think Dallas will, at the very least, keep up. CeeDee Lamb looks fantastic. Weirdly, Javonte Williams looks fantastic as well. I think Rome Odunze has another big week in this, and I am pleased to announce, Tom, that I've rejected all trades that came my way for Rome Odunze in fantasy.
Yeah, he had a very good week too, didn't he? I like this. You've made a very, very strong case. We don't actually know what your player of the day is yet. I don't even know. You didn't put it on your notes. But maybe this is it. But my one concern, and I agree with everything you said about Dallas downfield, they were shocking last week. Game on the line, they were allowing huge plays to Neighbors, who's a great receiver, but just play a little bit deeper. My one concern is Caleb Williams going to have enough time in the pocket against, a very average pass rush right now, just to be able to get the ball downfield, because that offensive line at Chicago is just not improved.
It's not, but a lot of the time Caleb Williams isn't in the pocket because he's just running around like a headless chicken. Caleb Williams does not like being in the pocket. He will run here, there, and everywhere. I think you'll find Roma Dunze quite a bit. And if you've got Roma Dunze like myself in a few fantasy teams, you are pretty happy at the moment. Unlike last week, Tom, for your next selection, which was just misery, despair, and just all-round sadness.
Yeah, back to the Broncos again, losing to the Colts. It was tough. They were the best team. Will Lutz should have scored a field goal with 3 minutes remaining, and then somehow they've ended up losing because the officials basically forced it to happen. But if you watch any of our off-season NFL podcasts, you'll know that I am extremely hot on the Broncos. And when I make big statements like that, I want to keep backing up my word. And I'm not going to go against my own judgment at this early point of the season anyway. They've looked good. They haven't been at the heights that I thought Denver would be, but equally they should be 2-0, and that would have been a perfect start. This week, they go on the road and face the Chargers. This is a very tough matchup for both teams, really, but definitely for Denver. On the road against Justin Herbert and this offense, which has just been brutal so far, scoring points, and the defense has been stopping the opposition on most drives. The Chargers are your favorites. 3-point favorites, but I'm going to play the Broncos plus 3.5. Again, looking at the additional point spread here, you're getting 8 to 11 about this one. I always like to have 3.5 points on my side, just in case it's a field goal game. I don't really want to say anything negative about LA because they've done really well so far this season. There's not much negative to say. They've got Keelan Allen back, who's been really good. Lab McConkey is obviously a fantastic receiver. Quentin Johnston's playing a huge part now and is somehow learned how to catch the ball. And they are just smashing the D-line straight from the outset. They are running the ball, making sure they're the biggest guys out on the field. They want to assert their dominance. And from then on, it's just been Chargers one-way street in their 2 games. Don't think it'll be as easy against this Broncos defense. And actually, I think the Broncos offense are going to do exactly the same to LA, what LA are going to try to do to Denver. They're going to try run the ball with J.K. Dobbins, ex-Charger, and hope to get this matchup going on the ground and keep moving the ball. If that happens, Bo Nix in play action, he is very good. When you put the ball in his hands as a pocket passer, he's not as good. He does make some mistakes and some slightly wayward throws, but on play action, he is excellent. And if Franklin starts getting in on these deep post routes or whatnot, I feel like they're going to move the ball a lot. Cortland Sutton's going to be a part this week. And I just think the Broncos are going to keep this close. Hopefully they'll win, but I'll take the Broncos plus 3.5.
There is a chance that this game is one of the fastest ones of the week.
Yeah.
Just with the amount of rushing that could happen. The Broncos want to do it. I think RJ Harvey will get more involved, if not this week, in the very near future. He has to, though.
Yeah.
I cut Tom off then, and we said exactly the same point, and then Tom got disheartened. Roll it back. Roll it back. Look at his little face when I said that. He's like, yeah.
Yeah. He does. He has to. I had nothing more to add.
Great point, Luke. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well done, mate.
The thing is, though, he is explosive. And when you've got an explosive player, why are they not playing these downs? I mean, J.K. Dobbins is good. He's solid. But RJ Harvey is a guy that can take it to the house. Get him on the field.
Yeah, 100%. When RJ Harvey's on, he looks a different player to J.K. Dobbins. But the rookies, for whatever reason, this season just aren't taken over. Unless you're Bill. Bill's taken over this week for Washington. Obviously, gutted that Austin Eckler suffered an injury, but it's Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's time to shine as we talk about something, and we're going to go a little bit more emotional, Tom, because I think it's important to know your flaws.
Go on.
Are you right?
Yeah. Why not?
Give me one of your flaws.
My flaw would be that I keep tipping in games involving the Packers.
Great flaw. I trust too easily. We know a flaw. Viewer, listener, what's one of your flaws? That's a really good flaw. Thank you very much for opening up to us like that. One person, I really hope, said at least one flaw to the camera.
Well, I hope it was Gary Slater saying that the Chiefs aren't as good as he anticipated.
Gary's like, I suck. But it's important to know your flaws, Tom. And we're going to do this in a bit of a session because it's time to join play.
Join play time. Looking forward to this. Come on.
Against the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Against my team. Against my beloved Seattle Seahawks. But there's a good reason for it. The Seattle defense is good. We've been decent this season. We've conceded 17 points in both games. But the one area, Tom, that we've both seemingly latched onto, that we have been torched, and this has been a year in, year out thing, even when Pete Carroll was in charge. We are terrible against receiving backs. coming into town, one of the best receiving backs around in Alvin Kamara, who the line has already moved up to 25.5, which is what we're going to take. That is at 10 to 11. But week 1, Christian McCaffrey, 9 catches for 73 yards. Week 2, Jalen Warren, 4 catches for 86. And on the same team, Kenny Gainwell, 3 for 16. Kamara was used more in the passing game last week. Tom Spencer Rattler is trying to check down. This just looks like something that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes loads of sense. Alvin Kamara over 25.5 receiving yards at 10 to 11. We both love this. And the fact that you actually love it against your own team says enough, I would say, to the viewers that this is a good bet. You've already stole my thunder regarding stats so far this season. But just to round that up, in week 1, 77 receiving yards, 2 RBs. In week 2, 102 receiving yards. If they get anywhere near that, Alvin Kamara is going to be basically the only back in here that will catch the ball. So if they can get anywhere near that, he covers easily, not even close. But if we go back through Alvin Kamara's whole career, and he's been playing in the NFL for a number of years now, he is on the veteran side of things. He is a guy that has constantly been trusted out of the backfield catching the ball. Now, he's played 126 games in the NFL, 126, a lot. Kamara has had 23 or more receiving yards, which I know doesn't stack up exactly to this line, it's 25 or more, but 23 or more on 87 occasions out of 126 games. That is 70%. That's a huge weight shift towards Kamara out of the backfield, covering a line like this. And okay, yes, he hasn't covered in 2 games this year, but they've been 2 different games, I would say. The Saints have been trying different things with this new look offense. Spencer Rattler given the heads up this season to go out. They know they're not going to win any real prizes this year, the Saints. I think they're just trying things, seeing how they can progress, especially with a new offensive coordinator. And it just looks to me like Kamara is going to get more and more involved from now on because they don't trust many guys down the field. I do like Rashid Shaheed, but other than that, I can't really trust many others. I suppose Chris Olave has talent, but he's just a guy that I'm quite down on this season. And surely Kamara is just going to cover this line. I think we could have just left the explanation at that. His statistics suggest he should easily cover. The Seahawks can't defend running backs coming out of the backfield and catching the ball. He covers this line. 26 yards is what we need.
I don't think Seattle want to defend running backs coming out. If you can make a sort of just check down 5 yards, all right, you can have that. You're going to run the ball once, we know, on this drive, and we can stop that. And out wide, we've got 2 guys. I mean, Josh Jobe has been unbelievable in the chances he's got. He's going to step up in a big way. I think he's going to take over from Reek Woolen, and Devon Witherspoon as well is in there. You mentioned about not liking the guys downfield for the Saints. Do you know who else doesn't like guys down the field for the Saints?
Is it Spencer Rattler?
Spencer Rattler. Yeah, he hates them. He doesn't. I don't know if he's like he can't see that far, but he hates it. His average yards per target or yards per attempt, I should say, so far this season, 6 yards last week, 4.7 in week 1. He's looking to get the ball out quickly, and a lot of that is going to go the way of Alvin Kamara. I think he will cover, albeit another added bonus is that they should be playing from behind. They're 7.5 point underdogs, so Kamara should get a fair bit of work. And that's Sunday done, Tom.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah.
If the Seahawks lose to the Saints this week, I am going to produce a what on earth about how the Seahawks are the most inconsistent team in all of sports next week. So look forward to that. Watch the game. And if the Seahawks do lose, it's going to be a good what on earth.
I'm contemplating playing Seattle in a last man standing league where if your team loses, you get eliminated for the year.
I would quite like you to do that because then if they do lose next week, you can join me on that what on earth.
Exactly. Also, it's a good reason to use up Seattle because you can only pick one team per year.
Yeah, one team per week, yeah.
Yeah, per year as well. Once you pick them, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season.
Yeah, sure, okay.
I mean, no, not sure. That's the rules. That's how the game plays. Tom!
That's not one team per year, is it? Because next year... Well, anyway, we're not talking about next year. It's all about this year. Anyway, whatever.
Look how flustered he is, guys.
I'm just hot.
You have gone hoodie. That is bold. I say Sunday night is over. Well, Sunday football was over. For us in England, it is. Over in America, not quite. Because on Sunday night football, we got the Giants taking on the 0-2 Kansas City Chiefs. I know the Giants are 0-2 as well, but they're expected to be. But the Chiefs are 0-2. They don't look great. They don't look terrible, but they don't look great. They're not a Chiefs team that we're kind of used to. They should win this. If they're not winning this, then real alarm bells are going off, and they'll be counting down the seconds for Rishi Rice to come back. Don't bring out those terrible shirts before the game, by the way, this week again, Chiefs. Don't do that. This is not an illness. But I think Wan'Dale Robinson keeps going. He's had a very productive season so far. His over-under is 50.5 receiving yards. That's at 10 to 11. Now, Wan'Dale Robinson has been a great asset for the New York Giants, basically since they drafted him back in 2022. He had a few big games that season, then he got hurt. Last season, he was again good. And then this year, he's been a big part of their offense. He hasn't played a huge allotment of snaps either. A good amount, 76% and 70%, but he can get on the field more, and I think he will this week. Last week, he was absolutely outrageous. He almost beat Malik Neighbors in terms of yards, and Malik Neighbors was by far and away the best player on the field. 10 targets, 8 catches for 142 and 1. Now you're thinking, but Luke, the Kansas City Chiefs defense is good. It is very good. It's going to shut down all wide receivers like they did against the Philadelphia Eagles. And yeah, they kind of did, but that's because Philadelphia didn't want to throw the ball. Jalen Hurts threw the ball 22 times for 15 completions. They quite clearly wanted to run the ball. Jalen Hurts almost had as many rushes, and probably mainly tush pushes as well, as he did attempts throwing it. 9 carries for 15 yards. Saquon Barkley rushed the ball 22 times for 88. The most targets that went to one player was A.J. Brown with 8, but the most catches was also A.J. Brown with 5. It just wasn't something that the Philadelphia wanted in their game plan. So we get rid of that game, we throw it in the bin, and we look back at week 1 at the Brazil game when they took on the Los Angeles Chargers. And what happened with the Chargers wide receivers? They torched them. Pretty much everyone. Quentin Johnson had a big game, 5 for 79. Lad McConkey, pretty much a slot receiver, 6 for 74. Keenan Allen, slot receiver again, 7 for 68 and 1. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, I don't care if he doesn't have a spectacular week, honestly. I think he can catch 6 or 7 balls in this. I think he can go for 70-odd yards or so, and it gives us something to look forward to regards to Sunday night. I was pleasantly surprised, Tom, that Wan'Dale Robinson's line was 50.5. I think he goes over that.
I'm glad you've got confidence in it, to be fair. This is a game where I looked for a long time. I always like to provide a pick in the primetime game. I couldn't really find anything. I don't really trust in the Chiefs, as everyone will know. Didn't like any of their player props. And on the Giants side, for all that Neighbors is a great receiver, everyone knows that now. And I think the Chiefs will do everything they can to stop him. And Robinson, I've had him in a dynasty league for a long period of time. And he sometimes flatters to kind of go out there and do what you expect. And yeah, if I'm being honest, this is the one selection of yours that I don't love. And it's not anything against Robinson as such. It's just I don't like the matchup.
Fair enough. I hope you're wrong. But Russell Wilson has also thrown the ball 37 times and 41 times. That is a big thing. I mean, if he does that anywhere near that again, and Wan'Dale Robinson isn't getting 10 targets, you'd be a little concerned. But they are the 5 picks each. I was going to say to you, Tom, what's your favourite selection of mine? But you put up Alvin Kamara as well. So outside of that, of the other 4, what are your favourite selections from Nico Collins, Breece Hall, Rome Odunze, and well, we know it's not Wan'Dale.
No, I like obviously Alvin Kamara, but I like Nico Collins as well. I think him and AJ Brown this week. We haven't covered AJ. He was on my shortlist, but I feel like those are the 2 receivers that are really going to take a step forward. So I'm glad you've put one of them up. But yeah, they would be my favorite 2. I can't put up. I can't say I like Robinson, but I definitely don't love the under. And it's not to do with Breece Hall or the bet itself. I just don't love unders. I feel like it's a horrible way to watch NFL. And because it's the 6 p.m. games, you're going to be so stressed.
Yeah, Tom's a nervy guy. I'll sit here. It's chill. It's cool. It's not a problem. That will not be happening. Let's go into our selections for the Sunday slate on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Remember, if you are not subscribed, please do down below. We are here 3 times a week, including a horse racing video. Go check our content out on our page right now as well. Leave a like, leave a comment, and hit that ring notification down below. You'll be told whenever we upload videos, and take a look at our membership tier as well. I'm going to go first this week, Tom, because
Go on.
Because I want to. I am going Breece Hall under 52.5 rushing yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that is a fair play. Also looking at Nico Collins to go over 68.5 receiving yards, and that is my player of the day. I think Nico
Nice.
Collins has a very big week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Roma Dunze is kind of my next best among all these picks. Over 60.5 receiving yards. I think that's a very low line as well. I think Roma Dunze can have another big week. Then it's the joint play, Alvin Kamara, over 25.5 receiving yards against the Seattle Seahawks. And we'll end things off on Sunday Night Football. Wan'Dale Robinson, over 50.5 receiving yards at 10-11. Bold prediction time, Tom. I'm going 5 out of 5 this week.
Oh, I love that. We need to have a very good week because the record above is not as expected so far. But as you said, plays of the day are going extremely well. And Nico Collins being your player of the day, I feel like many people at home be looking at that and going, I've got to play that player prop.
Yeah, correct. You go.
Okay, 5 selections as well. We're going to start with Tucker Kraft, over 47.5 receiving yards for the Green Bay Packers. That's at 10-11. Chuba Hubbard, over 55.5 rushing yards for the Carolina Panthers, also at 10-11. Tyler Warren, over 45.5 receiving yards at 10-11. Playing my day for the Indianapolis Colts. I love this bet. He's probably the most confident bet I've had so far this NFL season. Selection 4, the Broncos, plus 3.5. Alternate point spread, not the main handicap. You get an 8-11 there. That's against the Chargers. And finally, the joint play, Alvin Kamara, over 25.5 receiving yards for the Saints against the Seahawks at 10-11.
We hope the joint play goes in. We hope we manage to get, I would say all 10. It's kind of 10. It's technically 9. But hopefully every single one manages to land. Anything else you want to get off your chest, Tom, before we depart?
No, I did it all earlier in What on Earth. So, yeah, I feel a lot better now after this 45 minutes. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you did want to go back and watch the analysis, if you only looked at this kind of picks section at the end, then please do. There's a lot of, hopefully, knowledge that we can pass on. And it's entertaining, especially when Luke was considering what was in his drink. So, yeah, make sure you go and watch back the whole video if not. And fingers crossed we have a good week because we're due one now after last week.
It's like just a lump of something. I don't really know what it is, but...
That's disgusting.
Didn't get drunk. That is it for the Devon Touchdowns podcast. We will see you next week. We will see you actually Monday night on our memberships tier. That link will be down below in the description. But until we see you again, goodbye.